So, I just wanted to start this video with a little preamble saying that even though White Regis TV's weekly news programme is no longer a part of the schedule and even though this film review is not part of the news programme, I'm still going to introduce it as White Regis TV film review and preview so that a good continuity is maintained and it's easier for me not to have to think up other stuff. So, once again, welcome to White Regis TV film review and preview. I'm Andrew Wright. Because there are a couple of big movies that come out mid-week next week, like very awkwardly, I'll preview them in this segment, but I will also touch upon them in next week's segment. So this week, Love Hurts was released on home video. The film is an action comedy film and revolves around a former hitman turned realtor who learns that his brother is hunting him. The film stars Oscar winner Ke Huy Quan for Temple of Doom, Goonies, Everything Everywhere All at Once, in his first ever leading role. So this is the first time he's ever been the main character of a movie. And he stars alongside Ariana DeBose, Marshawn Lynch, and Sean Austin. That Sean Austin making this a Goonies reunion, because he was in the Goonies with Ke Huy Quan. So, this film was released initially in February to negative reviews and box office disappointment, but I don't let that impact my judgment when reviewing, because sometimes I find a box office bomb, a critical disappointment that I really like Madam Web. So, which is the one I always go to. So I came to this film because David Leitch is a producer and it's marketed to fans of the action films Nobody and Violent Night, both of which I really loved. And I have to say, I was really disappointed in this film. Yes, it had good fight sequences, which was to be expected. And Kwan is very likeable in the lead role, but the script is terribly cringy and painfully short, about 18 minutes long. It's very much like a Alfred Hitchcock movie in that it just does the bare essential scenes. So what a disappointment. This week, Final Destination Bloodlines was released in cinemas. The film is the 6th installment in the Final Destination supernatural horror franchise, and is a direct sequel to the 2009 film Final Destination. The film revolves around a college student who inherits a sudden premonition from her grandmother, who had it in 1968 about a tower collapse, and attempts to save her family after death starts killing them one by one because they never should have existed. The film stars Caitlin Santa-Wana, Tio Briones, Richard Harmon, and Tony Todd in his final film role before his death, reprising his role from previous films in the franchise. So the limit. Okay, I probably should have gone back and rechecked, but the limited information I had at the time of writing, about 3/4 of the reviews were positive, and you'll have to find out for yourself how it is, because I'm not planning on watching it. I've never seen any of the Final Destination films and not interested, and they're not really available anywhere. So Final Destination Bloodlines is in cinemas now. On Monday, the 19th, Monday the 19th, in the UK, Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning arrives in cinemas. The 8th and possible final installment in the Mission Impossible franchise. The film takes place 2 months after 2023's Dead Reckoning and revolves around Ethan Hunt continuing his mission to stop the AI known as the Entity from falling into the hands of Gabriel, the villain of the previous movie. The film stars Tom Cruise, Hayley Atwell, Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, Henry Czerny, I think that's how you say it, and Angela Bassett, all reprising their roles from previous installments. The film is set at nearly 3 hours long, so it is quite long, and it's not entirely known if it's the last film in the franchise, because it was previously announced as being Tom Cruise's last Mission Impossible film, so you'll have to see it in cinemas to find out. It premiered in Cannes this week, and the reviews are positive. If it's the final one, apparently it's a fitting send-off, so the film, and apparently the film is gargantuan in scope, so who knows what that means. You'll have to see it for yourselves. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is in cinemas, in UK cinemas, Monday 19th of May. Next Wednesday in the UK, so the 21st of May, the live-action Lilo and Stitch movie arrives in UK cinemas. The film is a live-action remake of the 2002 animated film and stars Chris Sanders reprising his role as Stitch. He previously wrote and directed the animated film, and he's obviously come into known as director of animated movies like The Wild Robot from last year. The film also stars Hannah Waddingham, Billy Magnussen, Zach Galifianakis, and Courtney B. Vance, among names starring in this film. The film also revolves around a lonely human girl named Lilo adopting a dog-like alien named Stitch, who is being pursued by aliens and social workers whilst learning about the idea of family. So, yeah, I'm honestly actually really excited for Lilo and Stitch. I never watched the original, but I did sort of like, every time I went to Disneyland, I did like the little Stitch plushes around, so. And I like the look of the trailers, so Lilo and Stitch is in UK cinemas Wednesday, May 19th. And I'll be sure to talk about Mission Impossible and Lilo and Stitch in next week's segment, just sort of like as a recap. That's all, honestly, I have for this week, but be sure to check back next week where I'll be talking about Captain America Brave New World. It comes out on home video next week, and I'm watching it. See you next time.